Have you ever put your hand on something hot without knowing it and instantly had a reaction from it, instantly had a reflex, which basically protected you from causing more harm and damage to yourself? We're going to get deeper into the subconscious mind and how it works. And essentially, we will lead to how to use it in order to support you into living your true purpose, creating everything that you desire, and essentially creating your own universe and reality. Now, when it comes to the subconscious mind, we've established that the subconscious mind is responsible for pretty much everything that you receive, everything that you experience, and it stores it into your mind as memory. But it goes deeper than that because not only does it store it as memory, it's stored as habits, depending on what happened and how much emotion was triggered or how much emotion was involved and intensified into that particular event or experience. Now, when we are children, many times we are fed information, knowledge, experiences based on our parents, our guardians, right? The guides of this physical realm. And as you grow up, you learn that the things that you were taught, the things that you recognize as patterns, beliefs, even habits, don't serve you anymore. But you're trying to figure out how is it then can you change those patterns, change those belief systems in a way that allows you to live in alignment with what it is that you wish to live, experience, have. And so as we go deeper into the subconscious mind, it's important to understand now that we know what the subconscious mind is, let's get into how exactly it works. Now, when I use the example of having your hand on something hot, right? And your body instantly recognizing heat, instantly recognizing something is hot before you visually saw it or seen it or experienced it or knew what it was, your body reacted from it. The same thing applies with, being outside in nature, feeling a bug bite and instantly retracting your foot or your hand or your body and recognizing I was bit and you instantly moved from that experience, from that sensation. Well, we usually recognize that as a neurological reflex. But remember that the subconscious mind is actually responsible for your nervous system. It's responsible for all of your bodily functions. And when you recognize that, you begin to understand that, okay, there is a mechanism here, right? There is a system at play when it comes to the subconscious mind. And that system is really grounded on survival. It's really grounded on protection. Okay. And so when you think in terms of that, you begin to truly understand why you are storing particular things or you have stored particular things in your mind as habits, right? Because essentially you recognize a need, right? Or desire or an intensity of emotions that has caused you to tap into this flight or fight kind of trigger system. And whether the thing was actually dangerous or not, that's truly irrelevant. It is if you perceived it to be dangerous or not. And if you perceive something to be dangerous, especially as a child, when you can't rationalize it, you instantly store that as a reflex. You store that as a trigger. You store it as a habit, even if you do something repetitively. So now with recognizing, okay, the subconscious mind is about survival, it is about protection, then you understand, okay, so I have to tap into understanding this on a deeper level in order for you to really see how you can reprogram those conditions, right? Or use your knowledge to direct the subconscious mind in a way that aligns with you and what you truly desire. And when I say you, I mean the true you see. So now your job is to recognize the sources of how the subconscious mind is programmed: society, family, and mainly experiences. And so when you think about experiences, you must again think about self-awareness and think about where you were, your state of mind, your maturity level, even your spiritual understanding where it was, where you were when you experienced that particular event or experience. Okay. Because that is going to tell you a lot, or that's going to be a big influential aspect of how you stored that information, right? How you, what you believed at the moment, what you understood as a truth for you at that moment, though it doesn't resonate with you now, still had insight, it had impact, and it was a part of the programming. It was a part of the reflex. It was a part of the trigger. Okay. And so when you look back on it, and though you may still feel the trigger, recognizing that it doesn't serve you, then you have the ability to just simply look at yourself and say, wait a minute, though I was at a different place in my life, for some reason, I still respond according to that previous state of mind that I had beforehand. And when you understand that, then you see, okay, there is something here about the programming. The program was set in place, installed at a particular time when you were a particular person. And though it doesn't align with who you are now, it still has an impact. It still influences you. And so now you have to take ownership of that. So when we think about this survival mechanism, think about it this way neurologically. When you are in danger, your body has created a system where you don't have to rationally, right, from your conscious mind, think about the situation. It just automatically happens. So if you are out in the forest, you're in the Sahara, you experience a lion or any kind of animal. Maybe it's an animal that you don't even recognize, you've never even seen before. There was a part of you in your mind that says danger. Okay. Why is that? Because maybe when you were a child, you also experienced an animal that you had no idea what it was, right? But it just happened to be dangerous in the moment and it attacked you. Okay. It responded to you in a certain way. You felt a sense of fear. You felt a sense of danger. And so every time you experience something that you haven't experienced before, particularly an animal, you are very fearful, right? You are very scared. And your initial response is to run, walk away, get away from it. You don't like animals, right? You have a whole story and identity because of this. This is because when you experience that first, right, initial experience, you didn't have the mental intelligence. You didn't have the know-it-all to actually rationalize it and say, okay, this is an animal I don't know. I had to be mindful. I have to be careful. Okay. This is not a representation of all animals in the entire animal kingdom. This is one single animal. Let me be mindful. It could be dangerous. It could not be. But when you were a child, you probably just thought, oh, it's funny. It's cute. Let me go touch it. Rah, right? It got you. Now you have an emotional trigger response reaction to all animals because you simply just identified that as a nice, furry, cute animal. Because of that negative experience, all animals are now bad, right? You don't like animals. So what happened was because of that high intensity of emotions, it triggered the storage of that memory. It also triggered a conclusion as to what you are supposed to do every time you experience an animal, because this one time you were hurt. In order for you not to get hurt again, you have to do the opposite of what you did, or you have to do something, right? Because again, you're a child, you don't know that there are many options, there are many possibilities, but all you know is fear, run, because that is a primal instinct. That is a primal part of our DNA. If we experience fear, danger, run. That's why it's called flight or flight, right? Fight or flight. So ultimately, what your body, your brain has done was create a rewiring system where it bypasses your conscious mind, the ability for you to rationalize the experience and think it through. And it simply created a instantaneous response based on that first experience. Why? Because that first experience, as far as your mind is concerned, was a real thing. It was a dangerous thing. And we do not want to experience that again, because our bodies, our minds, we want to live, we want to survive. So instead of taking time to think it through, which caused us to experience the pain and the suffering and the danger in the first place, now what the brain does is says we're going to bypass the rational aspect of ourselves, the curious part of ourselves, the mind, thinking it through, analyzing, collecting data. We're going to bypass that, and we're going to rewire our brain to simply identify something similar to it, recognize it, and then immediately run away from it. Okay. Now, of course, this is an example. Many people do hate animals because they did experience something similar to this, but it can apply to anything. It can apply to relationships. You don't like a certain kind of person, right? Because the first relationship you were in, the person who matched this description or looked like this or felt like this did something horrible to you. And therefore, now, every time you see that person that reminds you of that experience, you are instantly shut out. You shut it down. You're not interested. You run away. You don't want to have even an exchange with that individual. You see, it can go on and on and on. Even when it comes to money, same thing applies. You were a child who felt like you had it all. You felt like your family were rich, millionaires, right? Because you got everything you desired, because your parents worked hard to get it to you. You had a conversation with your parents. Your parents ended up telling you, we're not rich. Life is hard, right? Making money is hard, right? The root of all evil is money. All these different stories were put in your head. It triggered you because you were probably shocked because what they said didn't align with your reality. And so when that was told to you, it was a high charge of emotion. And then that was stored into your subconscious as a reality, as a belief system, as a way of living and thinking. And now that is stuck inside of you. And now you have to recognize how to change that. But in order to change it, you have to understand what it is, the subconscious mind, and how it works. It's very important to do that. Okay. So understand the subconscious mind is responsible for your beliefs, your values, your habits. They're all stored there. So every belief system that you have, whether it be religion, whether it be relationships, whether it be about money, whether it be about health, all these different things, you have to question and you have to ask yourself, is this belief system, though you believe it, it doesn't make it true. Okay. Now, yes, the power of your beliefs are such that if you believe it, it does manifest. But you have to really ask yourself, is this manifestation, is this belief actually aligning with what I truly desire? That's the question. Just because a belief can manifest itself, right? It can even confirm itself to you, because that's just how the universe works. Whatever you believe, the universe will project that. It will reflect that to you. But now you have to ask yourself and take responsibility and say, hey, does this actually align with what I desire and who I know myself to be, right? A good indicator of that is thinking like, having the mindset that life sucks, having the mindset that things are hard, having the mindset that relationships are hard. This belief system doesn't serve you. And obviously it's not true, because there are many people who are living a beautiful and amazing life. There are many people who are living in an amazing and flourishing relationship. Lots of money, great health, right? There are people who have this. And so if they had this, that is an indicator to you that basically what your belief system isn't aligned with universal truth. And the universal truth is whatever you believe, whatever you decide to believe, will actually materialize itself. So the point is, you get to decide what your belief is. Many people say things like, I don't believe this. I don't believe that. Well, you get to decide that. You get to decide a different belief that aligns with who you know yourself to truly be, ultimately using the guide of what you truly desire. So when you get into beliefs, when you get into habits, when you get into values, those are all things that were passed down to you and basically installed and programmed into your subconscious mind by way of society, your family, and experiences, particularly experiences that, when you think about it, these experiences, all experiences, are based in the past. They're based on who you were. They're not based on who you are and who you are meant to be. So, by nature of experiences, they aren't based on your current state of evolution, your current state of growth. So once you understand that, then it really puts things in perspective, recognizing that that was your old self that had that experience. And because that was your old self, that experience was an indicator, it was a symptom, it was a byproduct of who you were at that current moment. So you cannot look at yourself in this current moment and think that that experience that happened in the past is actually going to be the same, because you are not the same. You are a different person now. Your vibration is on a different frequency. So the experience, though it may be even exactly, right, verbatim, exactly the same, your experience of it, how you perceive it, will be still different. So understand the beauty of recognizing the programming of the subconscious, recognizing that that was based on old self, right? Now you're becoming closer and closer to your true self. Then you can understand, oh, okay, here's where you begin to see the opportunity of change, transformation, and taking ownership of yourself. So let's get into how you actually begin to understand the functions like of the subconscious mind, right? And how exactly it gets to begin to be programmed, especially within yourself, like, or what it does, right? Like we talk about the subconscious being responsible for your bodily functions, your bodily behavior, right? Your heart rate. You're not consciously thinking about your heart beating, right? Your breathing. You're not consciously thinking about your lungs expanding and all that stuff, right? You're not thinking about that. You're not thinking about all the muscles involved. You're not thinking about every single cell of your body doing what it's supposed to do. What is doing that? That is your subconscious mind. Now, yes, with the conscious mind, if you are practiced and you are very, very focused, very connected with your body, you can manipulate, you can influence those things, right? You can, of course, consciously practice conscious breathing, right? Breathing in, breathing out, recognizing how it influences your body, your heart rate. You can concentrate on controlling and monitoring and influencing your heart rate. Okay. You can control your body, obviously. When you think about moving your hand, it moves. All right. So you have the ability to influence this thing called the subconscious mind. What's needed is the practice of it. What's needed is the consistency of it. What's needed is recognizing its power. Okay. That's very important for you to do. Something you must recognize is a mandatory part of this spiritual journey, because the subconscious mind is so vast and such a big, has a big role in this whole process. Emotional triggers, right? Behavior responses comes also from the subconscious mind. That gets again into what you experienced as a child, right? What happened, how you rationalize that. Hopefully, right, in the perfect world, when things happen to you, you had a guardian, you had a guide, a parent who were able to help you to rationalize that situation in an empowering way. But if you didn't, then chances are whatever you experienced was something that you just decided, oh, this is bad. Okay. This is bad. I can't experience this. I can't do this, or I can't have this thing ever around me. Right. You come up with that extreme sense of what this means or what this will mean from now on. So it's important to understand that these things, what you identify yourself and who you know yourself to be, are just simply programs of a past experience that truly don't align with who you currently are, and definitely do not align with who you know yourself to be or truly are, right? What this journey is about, and you coming into your true self. So you seeing that and understanding that is very important. Now, let's get into subconscious, the mind, and how dreams is very important to it. Now, when you sleep, you are essentially swimming, experiencing life by way of the subconscious mind. Now, yes, you can practice things like lucid dreaming, where you can actually practice being conscious in the dream state. But when you experience things going on, you have these weird dreams, you have these random things happening in your dreams. That's all, everything coming together. Your subconscious mind is basically sharing, experiencing, you're dialed in, you're tapped into different files of the brain, different experiences, and you're just having this experience of everything all at once at the same time, right? Then you get into multidimensional travel, astral projection, all these different things you're experiencing because your subconscious mind is just extremely powerful. So you really don't know if you're having a dream, if you're just astral projecting, you don't know really what's going on. You're just having this amazing just adventure of all the things happening at once. But what I want you to understand and take from this is when you go to sleep, that is when your mind, right? Remember, the mind is a strategist, right? It is essentially a problem solver. It creates solutions. So if you have a question, if you have something that you wish to understand, you need answers for, you wish to figure out, when you begin to go to sleep, what you can do is ask yourself a question, right? Ask yourself this question that's been on your mind, something that you're looking to solve, how to do this, what's a good way to do this, is this possible, things like that. And make sure you're really like dialed into the experience, to the question as you are going to sleep. Chances are you're going to wake up with an answer. You're at least going to wake up with a guide, right? Something to get you closer to the solution. And the more you do this, the more you will fine tune and you will polish this tool of really using the subconscious mind to give you the answers, because the subconscious mind, like I said before, I hinted before, as we talk about, as I mentioned, astral projection, but it can also access the superconscious mind. The superconscious mind is your direct connection with grand consciousness, which we often call God, or the infinite source, or the universe. And if you tap into that, then essentially you tap into all infinite knowledge. And so, though in your mind, you may not be able to, when I say mind, I mean conscious mind, you may not be able to figure something out. You may not be able to find a solution to something that you wish to, solve. But when you go to sleep and you're going into your subconscious mind, that is when you can tap into the superconscious and ultimately get all the information and wisdom and knowledge there is. Okay. So the subconscious mind is really about tapping into infinite power and access. Right. But if we are not repetitive with that, then it cannot be a mechanism for creating habits, creating patterns. And this is the real like mastery or the real direction you want to go with the subconscious mind, is understanding that it is about repetition. And with the repetition, it becomes a habit, it becomes a mechanism, it becomes something that you use to create consistency. Remember, we always talk about consistency when creating anything that you desire. You have to be consistent. And so if you are using the very thing that is designed, right, it is made to create habits. If you use that, then that will most certainly support you in getting to the desire that you want, because that is the thing that creates the consistency, right? That way you don't have to consciously, constantly be thinking about what you need to do, right? Can you imagine how exhausting that would be? Eventually, it goes from consciously willing yourself to do something over and over and over again to eventually that becoming a pattern, that becoming a habit, that becoming a way of life for you, which makes it easier for you to actually materialize the thing. Okay. So it was about its role in this, in rewiring your pathways to essentially make life better, right? Initially, we used the example of survival, right? Rewiring your pathway to make sure that you don't have to rationally think things through every time you have a similar experience. But because of the emotional charge, the more emotional you are about it, the more it is going to rewire a connection that bypass critical rational thinking to it just simply being a pattern, a habit, a trigger. You see, the trick is you have to be conscious about what you turn into habits, what you turn into a trigger. Okay. And so this is where you begin to understand the power of really analyzing, being conscious about what you're doing, who you're speaking with, all those things. And the more you continue to do those things, the more it transfers into your subconscious mind as a permanent fixture. And when I say permanent, I don't really mean permanent, but more of a sub-permanent, right? A kind of permanent fixture, because you can change that as well. Just because you constantly put something in your subconscious doesn't mean it has to stay there forever. But the point is, you want to put things in there, right, on purpose that align with your desire, that align with you coming into the self-realization that you create your universe. And this is one of the most powerful tools on how to create your universe. Thank you so much. Feel free to go to drabundant.com, subscribe to my daily newsletter, and get access to this free ebook right here and so much more. Continue to join me on this journey. Peace and abundance always.